October 22nd, 2018, 11:46 p.m. Security cameras outside the Kahlert Village Residence Hall at the University of Utah capture a young woman pushing open the heavy glass door to the dormitory building. She's alone. Dressed casually in athletic wear, 21-year-old Lauren McCluskey appears calm as she enters, her athletic bag slung over one shoulder. She's just finished an evening study session with friends. Everything seems perfectly normal, a typical Monday night for a college senior. But within the next 90 seconds, this surveillance footage will document the final known timeline of her evening. This will be the last time Lauren McCluskey is seen alive. Lauren McCluskey wasn't just surviving college. She was conquering it. From her hometown of Pullman, Washington, this remarkable young woman had earned her way to the University of Utah on an athletic scholarship. She competed in the heptathlon, one of track and field's most demanding events. 7 different disciplines: 100-meter hurdles, high jump, shot put, 200-meter sprint, long jump, javelin throw, and 800-meter run. It's considered the ultimate test of female athleticism, and Lauren excelled at every single one. But athletics were just one part of her story. Lauren was a senior majoring in communications with a stellar grade point average. She had a close-knit group of friends. She sang, she danced, she volunteered at animal shelters. Those who knew her described someone with boundless energy and an infectious smile. Her parents, Jill and Matt McCluskey, had raised a confident, independent young woman who seemed destined for greatness. That all began to unravel on a Friday evening in late September 2018 when Lauren and a friend went dancing at a small club near campus. That's where she met him. Sean Fields. At least, that's the name he gave her. He was working as a bouncer at the venue. Tall, muscular, handsome. 28 years old. He told Lauren he was a student at Salt Lake Community College. Charming and attentive, Sean swept Lauren off her feet that very first night. They exchanged numbers, made plans for the next day, and just like that, a relationship ignited. Lauren called her mother the next week, practically glowing. Sean had taken her to dinner, bought her flowers, asked her to be his girlfriend with old-fashioned sweetness. To the outside world, they seemed like a perfect match. Sean would stay overnight at Lauren's dorm room. She would loan him her car. Friends saw them together constantly. For the first few weeks, everything appeared wonderful. But then, the red flags started appearing. Sean began dictating what Lauren should wear when they went out. Specifically, t-shirts and jeans. Nothing too revealing, he'd say. When Lauren spent time with her friends without him, her phone would light up constantly. Text after text, call after call. Where are you? Who are you with? Why didn't you answer? What took so long? The questions came rapid fire, each one tinged with accusation. Lauren's friends noticed. They started pulling her aside, expressing concern. But Lauren had an explanation ready. Sean had been hurt badly in a previous relationship, she'd tell them. He had trust issues. He just needed time to feel secure. These were just growing pains. Things would get better. If you think Sean was just being protective, think again. He bought Lauren pepper spray, insisted she carry it everywhere. He took her to a shooting range, tried to buy her a handgun. He kept talking about how dangerous the world was, how she needed to be prepared, how something bad could happen at any moment. Looking back, friends would realize these weren't the actions of a concerned boyfriend. This was something else entirely. Something darker. Then in early October, just over a month into their relationship, Lauren discovered something that changed everything. She found out Sean's real name. Not Sean Fields, Melvin Sean Rowland. And when she searched that name online, the truth hit her like a freight train. Melvin Rowland was a registered sex offender. He had served time for sex crimes and attempted forcible sexual abuse. He was on parole. He had lied about his age, too. He wasn't 28. He was 37, 16 years older than Lauren. Every single thing he'd told her, every piece of his identity, had been a carefully constructed lie. Lauren ended the relationship immediately. On October 9th, she sent Roland a clear message breaking things off. But he still had her car, and when she asked for it back, he refused. This is where Lauren did everything right. She didn't try to handle it alone. She reached out for help. On October 10th, Lauren's mother, Jill McCluskey, made a phone call that would later haunt her. Calling from over 600 miles away in Washington state, she contacted the University of Utah campus police. "Hi, I would like to request some help for my daughter who's a student at University of Utah. She started dating this guy there who's like a bad person. She found out he's a bad person and she broke up with him, and he has her car. He was lying to her. He's actually a sex offender. I don't want her to go there by herself and have something bad happen to her. The campus police dispatcher told Jill McCluskey that they couldn't help. She needed to call Salt Lake City Police Department instead. So Jill did exactly that. She called Salt Lake City PD, and they told her the same thing. This was a university matter. She needed to contact campus police. Lauren was being bounced between departments like a ping-pong ball. Two police agencies, each insisting the other should handle it. Meanwhile, a registered sex offender still had her car, still had access to her, still knew where she lived. Over the next 12 days, Lauren would make a staggering 20 separate reports to the University of Utah campus police. 20. Read that again. 20 times, this young woman reached out for help. She filed extortion complaints because Roland was demanding money in exchange for her car. She reported that he had sent her threatening messages. She told them about his lies, his criminal history, his increasingly erratic behavior. Campus police assigned the case to Officer Miguel Darras. And here's where things get truly unacceptable. Instead of treating this as an urgent threat from a convicted sex offender targeting a young woman, Officer Darras treated it like a low-priority property dispute. He told Lauren she could come to the station to review evidence during business hours, when she was available. No rush. Lauren kept calling, kept reporting. On October 13th, she reported that Roland had been harassing her outside her dorm. On October 17th, she discovered something even more disturbing. Roland had been lying about being a student. He wasn't enrolled anywhere. He'd been using that lie to gain access to campus. To her world. She reported this immediately. She told campus police that Roland had forged documents, that he'd been using her identity without permission. She requested them to take action. Officer Darras opened an investigation into identity fraud, and then he essentially did nothing. No arrest warrant was issued. No restraining order was filed. No protective measures were put in place. Roland remained free. Free to watch her. Free to plan. Free to wait. On October 21st, Lauren reported that Roland had sent her disturbing photographs, explicit images of herself that she'd shared with him during their relationship. Now he was using them as weapons, threatening to share them publicly unless she paid him money. This was extortion. This was the distribution of non-consensual intimate imagery. This involved a paroled sex offender. Every single element screamed urgent danger. And still, campus police moved at a glacial pace. Lauren filed a formal complaint that same day. She wanted these photos removed from Roland's possession. She wanted protection. Campus police told her they'd look into it. They told her to keep calling if anything else happened. They told her she was doing the right thing by reporting. What they didn't tell her, what she had no way of knowing, was that one of their own officers, Officer Darras himself, had allegedly kept copies of Lauren's intimate photos on his personal device. Not as evidence, as unauthorized files. The very person supposed to protect her dignity had violated it in the most reprehensible way imaginable. October 22nd, Lauren spent the evening studying with friends at the Student Union building. Around 11:30 p.m., she gathered her things and headed back to her dorm at Callard Village. Security footage shows her pushing through the glass doors at 11:46 p.m. She's alone, walking with purpose. She has no idea that Roland has been waiting in the parking lot behind the building. What happens next unfolds with devastating speed. As Lauren walks through the parking lot toward her dorm entrance, Roland approaches her. Surveillance cameras capture fragments of what happens. There's a brief interaction. Then Lauren turns, starts running. She's trying to reach the building, trying to get to safety. She's almost there. Roland uses a firearm. Multiple shots are fired. Lauren falls. She tries to crawl toward the building entrance. Roland approaches again before fleeing the scene. He gets into a vehicle and leaves. A student walking nearby hears the shots, sees Lauren, immediately calls 911. Emergency responders arrive within minutes, but it's too late. Lauren McCluskey is pronounced dead at the scene, 21 years old, her entire future stolen in 90 seconds of violence. The manhunt for Melvin Roland begins immediately. Police identify him quickly through Lauren's previous reports. They track his phone. They canvass his known locations. They issue alerts to every officer in the Salt Lake City area. They know exactly who they're looking for. A registered sex offender, a paroled felon, a man who'd been reported 20 times in 12 days. Hours pass. Early morning becomes afternoon. Officers finally locate Roland at a church on the west side of Salt Lake City. They surround the building. They call for backup. They're preparing to move in when they hear a single gunshot from inside. Officers breach the church. They find Melvin Roland deceased from a self-inflicted wound. He chose to take this path rather than face justice for what he'd done. In death, he denied Lauren's family even the smallest measure of closure that a trial might have provided. In the immediate aftermath, University of Utah administrators expressed shock and grief. They offered condolences. They said all the right words. But Lauren's parents, Jill and Matt McCluskey, weren't satisfied with words. They wanted answers. They wanted to know exactly how their daughter had been failed so extensively. The university commissioned an independent review. What that review uncovered, it was highly concerning. Lauren had made 20 reports in 12 days, 20 separate requests for help. The review found that campus police had treated her case with significant negligence. Officer Darris had failed to investigate promptly, failed to recognize the danger, failed to coordinate with other law enforcement agencies, failed to issue a warning about a registered sex offender on campus. But it gets worse. Remember how Lauren's mother was bounced between campus police and city police on that very first call? That wasn't an isolated incident. The review found systematic failures in how the two departments communicated. There were no clear protocols for determining jurisdiction, no established procedures for handling stalking cases involving parolees, no systems in place to protect vulnerable students. The Lauren McCluskey case exposed a culture of complacency within the University of Utah campus police department. Officers treated reports from young women as nuisances rather than emergencies. They prioritized convenience over safety. They moved slowly when speed was essential. And then there were the photos. The intimate images Lauren had reported. Officer Darris had allegedly kept copies for his personal collection. When this came to light during the investigation, it represented not just a betrayal of trust, but a fundamental violation of everything law enforcement is supposed to stand for. He was eventually charged with multiple counts related to mishandling evidence and exploitation of these images. His girlfriend, another officer who had helped conceal this misconduct, was also charged. Both eventually pleaded guilty. Officer Darris received a prison sentence. His girlfriend's charges were suspended under the condition she stay out of trouble for 18 months. The McCluskey family, showing remarkable grace, agreed to these plea deals. But criminal charges against two officers weren't enough. Not nearly enough. In 2019, the McCluskey family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the University of Utah and its campus police department. The suit detailed every failure, every missed opportunity, every moment when action could have saved Lauren's life but wasn't taken. They requested $56 million in damages. The lawsuit painted a concerning picture. It showed how campus police had received clear, specific, repeated warnings about a dangerous individual, how they had all the information they needed to act, how they simply chose not to, or couldn't be bothered to. The distinction hardly mattered to Lauren as she faced her final moments in that parking lot. In 2020, the university settled. $10.5 million would go to the McCluskey family. $3 million would go to the newly established Lauren McCluskey Foundation, an organization dedicated to improving campus safety nationwide. The university would also build a new indoor track and field training facility and name it after Lauren. But beyond the money, the settlement included something more important: an acknowledgement. University of Utah officials stood before cameras and admitted they had failed. They failed Lauren. They failed her family. They failed every student who trusted them to provide a safe learning environment. The university acknowledges and deeply regrets that it did not handle Lauren's case as it should have, the official statement read. At the time, its employees failed to fully understand and respond appropriately to Lauren's situation. If these employees had more complete training and protocols to guide their responses, the university believes they would have been better equipped to protect Lauren. Jill McCluskey, Lauren's mother, spoke at the settlement announcement. Her words carried the weight of unimaginable loss. This settlement is important for many reasons. It addresses how Lauren died, but it also honors how she lived. All the money from the settlement will go to support the Lauren McCluskey Foundation's missions, which include campus safety, animal welfare, and amateur athletics. We are hopeful that this will cause insurance companies worldwide to view campus police who do not respond to women with urgency as a risk, and we hope that changes policy nationwide. The case prompted sweeping reforms at the University of Utah. The campus police department underwent complete restructuring. New protocols were established for handling stalking and domestic violence cases. Training was enhanced. Communication systems between campus police and city police were overhauled. A victim advocate position was created to ensure no student would ever again be bounced between departments while their safety was at risk. But these changes, as necessary as they were, came too late for Lauren. They were policies written in the wake of tragedy, protocols purchased with her life. The Lauren McCluskey Foundation continues its work today. It provides resources and education about campus safety. It advocates for better training of campus law enforcement. It pushes for legislative changes that would hold universities accountable for protecting their students. Lauren's parents have turned their grief into action, determined that their daughter's death will mean something, that it will save others. This case resonates because it reveals an uncomfortable truth. Lauren did everything we tell young women to do. She recognized danger. She ended the relationship. She reported to authorities. She documented everything. She followed every rule in the handbook we give to victims of stalking. And still, the system failed her. Not because the system couldn't work, but because the people operating it didn't show sufficient concern to make it work. 20 reports in 12 days. 20 times, Lauren raised the alarm. 20 times, she said, "Please help me. This man is dangerous. This man is threatening me. This man has a violent criminal history." And 20 times, campus police essentially dismissed her concerns, told her they'd look into it, told her to keep reporting, told her to be patient. Patience cost Lauren her life. The surveillance footage from that final night shows a young woman who believed she was safe. She'd reported her stalker. She'd done everything right. As she pushed through those dormitory doors at 11:46 p.m., she had every reason to believe the authorities had her back, that they were investigating, that they were protecting her. She was wrong. And 90 seconds later, the situation turned fatal. Melvin Rowland was a dangerous individual. There's no question about that. He deceived Lauren. He stalked her. He threatened her. He committed an act of ultimate violence. He bears responsibility for those actions. But he didn't act in a vacuum. He operated in an environment where campus police treated a registered sex offender stalking a college student as a low-priority administrative matter. He exploited gaps in the system that should never have existed. He harmed Lauren because the people whose job was to stop him, and simply didn't. The Lauren McCluskey case stands as one of the most preventable tragedies in modern campus safety history. Every red flag was raised. Every warning was given. Every piece of information needed to stop Melvin Rowland was available. The only thing missing was the will to act, the sense of urgency, the basic understanding that when a young woman says she's in danger from a violent offender, you don't tell her to wait. You don't bounce her between departments. You act. Immediately. Decisively. Protectively. Lauren McCluskey deserved better. She deserved officers who treated her reports with urgency. She deserved a system that valued her safety over bureaucratic convenience. She deserved to finish her senior year, compete in track and field, graduate, start her career, fall in love with someone who deserved her, build a life full of the promise and potential that radiated from every aspect of who she was. Instead, she got Officer Dara's moving at bureaucratic speed. She got jurisdictional runaround. She got a campus police department more concerned with procedure than protection. She faced a fatal outcome in a parking lot. She got a headstone instead of a diploma. If you're a college student watching this, especially a young woman, understand this. Lauren's case was extreme, but the attitudes that enabled it are not uncommon. Campus police departments nationwide struggle with similar issues. They're often undertrained, under-resourced, and under-motivated when it comes to stalking cases. The McCluskey family's lawsuit revealed that University of Utah campus police had a culture of dismissing concerns from young women. They're not alone. Trust your instincts. If someone scares you, report it. But don't stop there. Document everything. Tell friends, tell family, tell professors. Create a network of people who know what's happening. If campus police don't respond with urgency, escalate immediately to city police. Contact victim advocacy organizations. Make noise. Be persistent. Be demanding. Your safety is not a low-priority administrative matter. And to universities, to campus police departments, to administrators who make policy decisions, Lauren McCluskey's name should serve as a constant reminder. It should appear in every training session, every policy meeting, every budget discussion about campus safety resources. Because Lauren's loss was preventable. Completely, absolutely, inexcusably preventable. And if it happened at the University of Utah, it can happen anywhere. The question isn't whether your campus has the next Lauren McCluskey. The question is whether you'll recognize her when she reaches out for help. Whether you'll act with the urgency her situation demands. Whether you'll choose protection over procedure. Whether you'll save her life. Or whether her family will be holding press conferences years from now, explaining how your department failed their daughter. Lauren McCluskey pushed through those dormitory doors at 11:46 p.m. on October 22nd, 2018, believing she was walking into safety. Instead, she walked into a fatal gap in the system that was supposed to protect her. Her story ends in tragedy, but it doesn't have to be in vain. Every campus that reforms its policies, every officer who takes stalking reports seriously, every student who makes it home safe because someone actually listened. That's Lauren's legacy. She tried to save her own life. She really did. She made 20 reports, 20 persistent attempts to make the system work. And the system said, "We'll look into it." Now we all have to look into it. We have to look at how we respond to vulnerable people asking for help. We have to look at whether we're truly protecting students or just going through the motions. We have to look at whether the next Lauren who walks through those doors will walk through them again the next day. Until next time, stay safe and vigilant. In Lauren's memory, if you see something, say something. And if the first person you tell doesn't listen, say it louder. Say it to everyone. Because your life is worth more than someone else's convenience. Always.